Hello everybody, welcome back to 539. So I've been driving out here in the country and came across this place. I believe I drove by it a while back actually and marked it on the map as some place to come back to that might be of interest. So I'm not really exactly sure what is here. I'm not really remembering why I marked it, but it looks incredibly old, incredibly historic, a little bit decaying over the years obviously. So we'll just have to see what we can find here. One heck of an angle. So there is a historic sign here, which again often means a little bit, but not everything in terms of protecting the place. And already at the base of the sign itself is a sort of lost, decaying headstone here. So let's do a walk around the perimeter here and see what we can find there, and then we'll hit up some of the historic stuff in the central part. Some of these plants are pretty tall, so I'm sort of trying to look underneath them. But already you can see this carved out area here, suggesting that again the modern day borders have changed from what it originally was. And approaching this corner here, you can see there's this one main stone here, and then whatever these chunks may be at the bottom, it looks like they might even be part of an old section or row marker here. And there's been some movement back here. I'm not seeing any headstones or anything right off the bat, but I can tell that something's been moving through the woods, either people or potentially animals. Obviously we see a lot of deer around here. So you can see it's pretty clear going back, but not much anyway at first that meets the eye here. It looks like they're keeping a pretty good care of the borders. However, again, you can see obviously here and there's some exceptions. Lots and lots of insects here. Whoa, this is a big area of kind of a brush. Obviously it's died off. There's some spider webs that way. Let's see if we can make it around this way. So this section here is pretty cleared out, and a lot of these plants have died off. But it kind of just butts into a cornfield, excuse me. But I'm not seeing any memorials back here. But definitely a little bit of damage here at the very edge of the bush, and some memorials here that are leaning and about ready to fall. Probably a few more years before it will actually fall and need to be righted again, but obviously hopefully they do something well before that time. And on the other side you can see a couple more, most likely their own markers and not a piece of an arrangement. The writing on this is incredible. Looks like it might have had some cement added to it at some point to keep it upright. And again, directly, oh, here is one that has been actually lost into the bush here. You can see a section of it remains, and a lot of it's probably actually buried. Kind of difficult to tell where though. It kind of looks like this itself might have been moved at some point. It's kind of weird. Just a few feet from the edge too. And again, if you look, it's just a cornfield about 50 feet that way. So, very interesting. So, kind of make me think I'm going to find a lot more here. Potentially, at least. There's a lot of area. But just for a moment here, let's quickly go down this row here, well, the edge here, and see if there's anything here. It's another kind of entrance into a wooded area. I was kind of expecting to find something. It does look like there's an old fence, or a fence post, excuse me. Very interesting looking. I think it was an old barbed wire fence. And I almost missed it. It's crazy that there actually is a family section right here. There's no headstones actually left in it at all. But you can definitely tell the distinctive borders going all the way around here. Yeah, no mistaking it. That's crazy. It's kind of sad. And you can kind of see here, I can feel the stone below. There's either a headstone buried right there under the grass, or that's where the base stone is. So there's probably a lot that's missing. So that's 1883 right there. And a very narrow miss. And it might have actually hit just the edge of it and took this stone with it backwards. But it could have ended up a lot worse. Most of these are too worn away to tell what they say. Some of them have very faint writing. Might be able to pick up some amount of detail. So definitely a few things that need to be picked up, a lot of things that need to be organized, and still a lot of missing stuff that probably will never be found, or it'll be many years before they can find it again. And wow, you can tell that this would have been a depiction of a person here. Not exactly sure what the scene is or who it would have been, if it would have been a mythological figure, a biblical figure, or a depiction of the person from their own life, but something was definitely there for sure. It kind of looks, actually that looks decayed. I thought that was part of a plastic covered section of rebar, or a more modern version, and actually it's just decayed. And right behind it is several different memorials here in really amazing condition. Pretty much the same style, a little bit different color. I'm not sure exactly why they're slightly different toned. It might just be part of the process, and everything that gets cut might be slightly different from the next. But you can see that something is down here. Again, incredibly worn and decayed to the point where you can't read it. And on the other side here, some amazing writing has aged incredibly well over the years. You can see it's the same exact last name. And so more than likely it was a husband and wife born around the same time and then passed away not too far from each other either. And you can even see here another mention of Susan, which is short for Susanna. Pretty substantial memorial here that has cracked, and a big dip in the ground right in front of it, which may have been the reason why it cracked and fell over to begin with. Another headstone that's just been leaned up against something else. You can tell this actually was a member of the Odd Fellows here. But too difficult to read this particular stone here unless the writing's on the other side. But I'd really hate to disturb it at this point. This one would appear to be the last remaining one in this little section here, but you can actually tell behind it here is something else. Again, well, actually, yeah, I can definitely tell it's an actual headstone because you can see that it is one with only the initials on it, and so it would have been standing up at one point. And another section here where a lot of the probably lost stones have been gathered. Obviously you can tell a lot of these only had initials, so it's probably a little bit harder to tell where they came from. And so yeah, I don't know what exactly they do other than looking up historical records to find out where they would go and put them back in the right place. And again, it's hard to tell when stuff like that will even happen. And yet another one right here with pretty decent writing and pretty cool inscription too, but yet just needs to be freed from the grass here and stood back up. I'm not really sure. There's actually a chunk of something right here, and it's very possible, although I think kind of unlikely, but possible that they actually are part of the same memorial. Alright, thank you everybody for taking this journey with me today. Appreciate all of your support. Make sure if you're liking these adventures here out in the country and around the United States, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Make sure you give the video a big thumbs up if you like it and leave a comment. Of course, always I'm looking for your guys' input. If you think you can answer any of the questions here, any of the mysteries from this particular location, or offer any insight whatsoever, make sure you leave it in the comments below. Thanks everybody, and I'll see you in the next adventure.